All right, we're live now. Let's get the PowerPoint shared. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can. And if you're not up, can you just mute your microphones, please? All right, we are ready to go, Marissa?
Yep, ready to go.
Fantastic. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, March 8th, 2021 South Fulton Community Zoning Information Meeting. I want to, of course, say good evening to our South Fulton residents. Good evening to the petitioners who have joined the call. And as always, good evening to the entire internet for listening in to my voice once again. My name is Nathan Lombardo. I'm the Planning and Zoning Administrator for the City of South Fulton. I'm joined in this call by Dana Gray and Marissa Jackson, who are both planners with the City of South Fulton. We can go to the next slide, please. Tonight, please send all of your comments to the planning email address. That is planning@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. It's planning@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. And I will say from experience, people tend to leave off the GA after City of South Fulton. So remember to type cityofsouthfultonga.gov. All of the cases tonight are being presented for community knowledge. And they will all be heard at upcoming planning commission and or council zoning meetings. There is no board decisions being made tonight. It's just a list of upcoming cases that are being presented. So we can go to the next slide, please. I will also mention that the YouTube comments are not going to be read. So again, please, all comments to the planning email address. The first case we're going to talk about tonight is Z2102. A rezoning at 0 Campbell Drive. You can go to the next slide, please. The petitioner here is requesting a rezoning from AG1 to M2 for the purpose of constructing a warehouse. This property is surrounded on 3 sides by industrial parcels in East Point. So there's been coordination between the petitioner and both municipalities on site planning and buffering in order to minimize effects on residents. And I will show you all of that on the zoning maps and site plan. This was a deferral from the February 8th Planning Commission meeting. So this is the second time that this case has been seen at a CZIM meeting. We just put it back up on here because I know there has been a lot of interest in this case. And so I wanted to make sure that the facts of it were presented to the community. It will be heard at the March 16th Planning Commission meeting, which is next Tuesday. And again, that is a deferral from the previous month's meeting. We can go to the next slide, please. This is an aerial of the area in question. The parcels are located, in the center of the map. Campbell Drive is the vertical road in the middle of the screen, and the parcels are surrounding it on both sides of this site. There's only one parcel of the entire development that is in the City of South Fulton, and I believe if we go to the next slide, we'll be able to see where that parcel is located. So on both the left and the right are maps. This parcel on the left is a future land use map showing the area where it's located. On the right is the zoning map. You will see it is the AG1 parcel that is outlined in blue in the center of the screen on the map on the right. And it is surrounded on 3 sides by parcels that are in the city of East Point. We can go to the next slide, please. Highlighted in red is the section of this development that is in the City of South Fulton. The rest of the development is again in the city of East Point. I would also point out on this map that there is a significant amount of landscape buffering on the site adjacent to the South Fulton parcels, and that the site has been arranged so that the activity of this development is away from the residents. So on the lower part of this map here, you will see that those parcels are in the City of South Fulton. The warehouses are generally in East Point, and the red parcel is in South Fulton as well. So you can see the truck courts are away from the residences in South Fulton, as well as the main activity centers and loading docks of these warehouses. So we can go to the next slide, please. This is just an overall site plan of the proposed development. Again, the buffer area on the lower part of the screen is 50 feet in between the areas in East Point and the City of South Fulton residents. And it would be the upper part of the screen on the upper building. That would be the parcel that is in the city of South Fulton. Is anyone from this petition on the call right now?
I'm here, Nathan.
Could you just walk through any points that I have omitted or any additional detail that you feel is pertinent to this project or for the residents to hear?
Sure. Let me give you a little bit of an update and maybe reiterate some of the background for folks who might not have been at CZIM last time. So this project, we've been talking about it since the summertime. You know, East Point had a moratorium, so we weren't able to file anything at the time, but we met with Councilmember Willis, we met with the Ward D council members from East Point, we met with a concerned citizen who's very familiar with the site, and we walked the site, talked about the buffers, talked about distances from residential properties, and that meeting went really well. We then, last time we were at CZIM, we had not yet had our community Zoom meeting with the directly affected property owners and those within half a mile. We attended that, that went well. We addressed everyone's questions. There was a lot of concern about traffic entering onto Campbell Drive, but we oriented folks to understand that there's actually a building on the existing Campbell Drive per this site plan, so that ingress and egress would not be an issue, and ingress and egress would only be through the Duke Park to the north. This property is zoned industrial in East Point. One thing that Councilmember Willis had brought up at the meeting was that if this didn't have to go through South Fulton for this one parcel, my client would be able to build something in the industrial zoning classification on the East Point parcels as of right. And so she felt more comfortable with the fact that we were able to come in and talk to South Fulton because of this one parcel that needs to be zoned and come up with a site plan that would actually be amenable to the community's interests and needs. And so that's why you see the buffers that you see here. There are significant buffers actually between the closest residential property and the building you see on the bottom of the screen there. And additionally, we were amenable to working with staff to construct some kind of zoning condition that would require that no trucks ever be parked on the south side of that building that you're looking at. It actually looks to the south, but it's actually the west. But for the
and let me ask you this question:
Sure.
All access to the site would be from East Point. You wouldn't be able to drive a car onto this site from South Fulton in any capacity. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, it would go
Okay.
right through the Duke warehouse park. So. And the tricky part for you guys, I know, is that on your future land use map, I think you've got, what is it, suburban, is that right?
It is zoned for residential, yes.
Yeah, and so on East Point, this entire property is on the future land use map for industrial to be contiguous to the Duke Park, which was the idea of concentrating the warehouse into a certain area of the city of East Point. So there's a little bit of a conflict there, which is interesting, but that's sort of, that was our letter of intent. East Point was that it actually conformed with their future land use map. So it's a little bit of a conflict there, but you already know that.
Yeah, we have been having discussions with the council member and staff about a way forward policy wise on this, but we are certainly looking forward to getting the reports from you and any other citizen input that is current or forthcoming. Have any emails come in regarding this case or comments in the planning email address?
No.
Okay, and again, I'm sure that people will watch this and want to make comments. Please send any questions to the planning email address and we can get those done for you. Any other comments or notes that I have left off of this particular presentation?
Not for me.
Okay, then I will thank you very much, and we will move on to the next case.
Actually, Nathan,
Yes, Dana?
a couple people
Sure.
just said, a couple people just said vote no. So I don't know if that, applies to this evening or when the petition goes forward. So
for anyone wanting to make comments in regard to the cases, Remember to send in those comments and make a note that you would like them read at the Planning Commission meeting next week. For any comments that go to any council meeting, those need to be sent to the city clerk through their notification process for council cases. This case would not be before the council until April at the earliest, pending the outcome of the Planning Commission case. So again, any comments that want to be made for the Planning Commission, please email those in and make note of that. And any comments for any case that goes to the council, please note that you have to use the clerk's comment submittal process, and that is at the city clerk's website. If there's no other comments, we can move on. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you,
You're
Marissa.
welcome.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
All right, next slide, please. Next case is a zoning request, Z21003 at 4295 and 4301 Roosevelt Highway. Go to the next slide, please. The petitioner here is requesting to rezone from C1 and AG1 to M2. No new development at this time. When we get to the slides showing the site plan, it will make a lot more sense. What we have here is the same parcels under one ownership, under one development, have several zoning designations on one site. And so it's the intent of the owner of this property to have all of his parcels zoned the same on his property. It is in an industrial area surrounded by industrial zoning. The request here does comply with the future land use map. I will make note of that. This case will not be heard until the April 20th Planning Commission meeting. So we got this one on the community zoning agenda early, but it will not be heard until the April 20th next month's Planning Commission meeting. You can go to the next slide, please. This lots plural, are in the center of the map under the pin drop there. There's several parcels here with frontage on Roosevelt Highway, sorry, but they are very irregularly shaped, but it is in the center of the map. We can go to the next slide. The parcels here are identified in the middle of both of these maps. On the left is the, sure, I just got a notification that people are wanting to know the planning email address again. That is planning@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. That's PLANNING at cityofsouthfultonga.gov. And don't forget the GA at the end of City of South Fulton. That happens all the time. And they go into the universe. So planning@cityofsouthfultonga.gov. But these parcels here for this case are all in the middle of the screen. There's several parcels here, both the left and the right. The big takeaway from the map on the right is that all of them are zoned in an industrial area. So this rezoning would be in conformity with the future land use map. We can go to the next slide, please. This is just the plat aerial layout of all the parcels, and you can see how irregularly shaped they are. Just take a good look at these parcels. In the proposal here is to have them all go industrial. On the site now is a steel fabricating company, and they make things like decorative iron gates, fencing, decorations, staircases, things like that. There's obviously no steel making on the site, but rather fabrication of objects from ready-made steel. Let's go back to the previous slide, please, if you would. And again, I can just show, now that we've seen the shape of those sites, those parcels rather, we can know which parcels they are in the center of the map. Just take a quick look there. Have any questions come in regarding this case? Dana?
No, sir. No.
Okay. And if any comments come in regarding previous cases, we will make note of that, and either we can reply back to you answering any questions. And again, if you want to submit comments for planning commission meetings, just make note of that in your comment, and we will make sure to hold those over for the planning commission meeting. But please make note of the comments. Please make note of when you want them read. If you don't tell us what to do with them, we can't really do anything with them. So just make sure to note if it's a comment for the planning commission, in which case it might be for. So we can go to the next slide. Is anyone on the call right now to discuss this case in further for the community?
Daryl Cook here, engineering folks on this, putting this together. If you have any questions, happy to help out. But Nathan, I think you got it covered. We just really want to just bring all this in as the same zoning criteria at the manufacturing level, and we can't tell you why there's a little agriculture and a little bit of this, but the idea is just to bring it together. This has been an entity working on this property for quite some time. The gentleman wants to continue the use, no changes of the use at all. They're thinking at some point they may be looking for expansion, and it might be weird to try and expand into AG1 or the C when really their use is for manufacturing. So happy to answer any questions.
Certainly. Dana, have any comments or questions come in at this time at the planning email address for this case?
No, there have not been any new ones.
Okay. Well, again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email those in and we can reply back to you at any time when they come in. Just make note of the case. Otherwise, we can go ahead and move on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next case is M21003. It's a modification request at 0 Reynolds Road. We can go to the next slide, please. The petition here is requesting a modification to replace a 75-bed assisted living facility that was in the previous conditions with a 210-unit age-restricted apartment complex. The property here is zoned mixed use. This case will not be heard until the April 13th zoning hearing at the council meeting. So not for over a month. So I know we have a council meeting tomorrow. This case will not be heard at tomorrow's council. It will be at next month's council zoning hearing again on April 13th. And so we have plenty of time to get comments in. Again, any comments for the next few cases will need to be emailed into the city clerk through their notification process for comments for council meetings. That's located on the city clerk's website. And I don't know the specific detail offhand, but I do believe that those links get posted 1 week ahead of time for the council meeting. So just check the links and dates on the clerk's website because they don't take comments for cases that far in advance. So again, just make note of those details when you check out the clerk's website. We can go to the next slide, please. So this parcel is, and I'm getting a little bit better, I have to pat myself on the back on making sure that these maps have the parcel right in the middle. But this parcel is right in the middle of your screen, the somewhat triangular shaped parcel right above the residential areas you see there, but it's a triangular parcel right in the middle of the screen. I'll go to the next slide, please. You'll see in these maps, the parcel is outlined in blue. On the left is the future land use map, and on the right is the zoning map, showing it zoned mixed use. And we can go to the next slide, please. This is the most recent conceptual site plan submitted by the petitioner. And again, their intention here is to replace the conditions in the zoning of a 75-bed assisted living facility with a 210-bed age-restricted apartment complex. So there would be 2 buildings on this site. You can see in the middle of the site, there is a stream buffer or a stream in the buffer areas are there. So there would be no building other than the road passing over that area, but no construction of the buildings in that site. We can go to the next slide, please. These are some images taken from the information submitted by the petitioner of other projects they have done. This would be a similar size building to the larger one on the site plan there. So you can see it wraps on a central courtyard with amenities in the middle of the project. I'll pause here. Are there any questions or comments that came in the planning email address regarding this case?
Not this case. I have comments from the Z21002. And if you want to save that to after the presentation, we can do that, or I can read it.
Yeah, any comments that come in on ones that are not talking about right now, we can jump back and go over at the end of the presentation. So we'll just hold those until the end to not get too confused.
Let me just say that we'll receive these. If the community out there would like to email us, we'll receive it quickly, because I did receive the one I'm going to read later kind of quickly. So feel free to just email us your comments and we'll read them.
Yeah. And I'll reiterate, just email those comments in for any case tonight. And if you have any questions, we check these email addresses. It pops up on our emails every day. So any questions or comments that come in, we see them and we will get back to you. Even if it is not, if you have a question, even if you don't have a chance to get in tonight, or we don't happen to see it tonight, we will certainly get back to you with answers to your questions as best we can. So if there are none related to this, no questions or comments related to this site or this petition rather, is anyone on the call representing this petitioner on the call tonight?
Yes, Cassius Coleman is here. I'm the co-developer on the project.
All right, Mr. Coleman, the floor is yours to add anything I've missed or any additional insight you want to explain to the residents.
Absolutely. The 210 units in all likelihood will be a phased project, 140 on the first phase and 70 units on the second phase. We are waiting on a market study to determine if it makes sense to do all 210 at the same time or just do a second phase. These are market rent, age restricted apartments, 55 and over, which to date there's really no supply in the South Fulton area of Sandtown. And so we're addressing a market need, number one, because the only projects that have been built for age restricted are tax credit, which most people cannot live in. So we're trying to address a need for the city of South Fulton.
Okay, do you want to walk us through the site plan at all? Or can you offer any description of that?
Well, I mean, so this is a pretty, I would say a rough site. Our civil engineer has taken a lot of care here trying to figure out the best way to lay this project out. And what you have is it is the best way, and quite frankly, the only way it can be done to achieve the density that we need in order to make this project successful.
And can we flip back to the site plan really quickly, please?
Sure. Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Sure. And as you can see, as you have shown the building, that's a project that was done in Florida that's completed and leased up. It would be something similar to that, other than that is a family project that we saw. This would be senior. The majority of the units, I would say 65% of them will be one bedroom, the rest will be two. And if you look at the site and what we try to do is to make sure that for all interests, especially when addressing seniors, you'll see that the parking, covers each entrance that we will have. Main entrance, and there'll probably be a couple of entrances on the side that you don't see here, but we've laid this out such that the seniors do not have to walk far from wherever they park their cars on either one of these particular buildings that you see, the two buildings. As you mentioned about the stream buffer, that was another major issue. In all likelihood, there will be a bridge possibly that connects this as well. We haven't gotten to that part of the project, but the bottom line is, the site is a little rough. However, what you see is a very, very good plan for what we have to deal with on the site.
All right, thank you for that. Dana, have any other questions or comments come in on this one?
Yes, we have Debbie Davis. The zoning should meet the Sandtown overlay. How many stories? And there is an age-specific senior living right off of Fulton Industrial. So the question is, how many stories?
So this would have to comply with the Sandtown overlay. The limit is 3, but we will be addressing that with the next case as well.
Yes, right.
And that's it.
Any other questions, Dana?
No.
Okay, then we would ask the petitioner to stay on the phone for a second. We can go ahead and move to the next slide. And the next one, please. To CV 2101 is a concurrent variance to that case, asking for 2 variances to the requirements of the area. One is to allow for a 4-story building instead of 3, and another to allow for shade islands in the parking lot every 10 instead of every 5. And again, this will be part of the hearing at the April 13th council meeting. Care to explain the request you're making for the concurrent variances, please?
Absolutely. First, going from 3 to 4 stories, it's virtually impossible for us because of the site and the topography and all of the issues that we have on the site to do a 3-story building and have the project actually pencil out. And that's why we're requesting a 4-story building in order to get the density to make the project work. It's just that simple because some of the land it's not usable, and we're having to, I won't say squeeze, but we've had to put, the 2 buildings in such a way that we have to get 4 stories out of it to actually meet that the financial model number of units that we have to make it work. Same thing with the parking. Once again, the site is really rough, so we need a little bit more for parking spaces, less shade islands in order to meet the parking requirements that will be necessary for this number of units.
I will say I would encourage you to take a little bit of time and see if you can be a little more creative on the parking variance request.
Okay.
Just see if there's anything you could do to possibly eliminate the need to ask for that variance. I know we do take parking requirements, environmental stewardship, tree planting very seriously, which is probably not new news to you, or probably not the first time you've heard it either. So, if possible, just take a look at if there's any ability to do some reconfiguring or anything along those lines to maybe increase the ability to have those shade islands and either, come a little bit closer to meeting that standard, or maybe not needing to ask for that particular variance. I don't know if I'm stepping above my pay grade in making that statement, but I just would encourage you to just see if you can do anything in regards to being able to meet that particular requirement, especially.
I'll go back to our civil engineer. Maybe we can, change those numbers a little bit. And typically, with senior developments, the parking is, a little less. But what we found in some of our other projects, unfortunately, people still are driving quite a bit, especially when they're not connected to transit and things of that nature. So we'll do a little bit more study on this to make sure we're not asking for too much.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Dana, has any other questions or comments come in on this case?
Yes. To reiterate, Harvey Davis, how many stories?
Okay, the overlay allows for 3, and they will be a variance request for 4.
How many parking spots?
Can you tell us how many spots are proposed on this site right now?
I would have to go back and look at our numbers, but I would say 140 units in the first phase and 65% of those being 1. I know you looked at this, and that's why we came back with the variance request. I forget what the ratio needs to be. I'll have to get that answer over to you guys and get it back to the person.
And we'll make a note to email that number back out to you.
Right. Anything online? We might need to be a little bit more specific about that question. Describe curb cut.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that question, but if we can go back to the site plan, we could see where the curb cuts are, one on Reynolds and one on Westlake Parkway.
Okay, what is the age cutoff?
I believe these are 55 and up.
What are the amenities?
Sure. We're proposing pickleball, outdoor kitchen with barbecue grill, possibly community garden, gazebo. The only thing that I'll say that's not being considered at the moment because of the site, once again, is a pool, because we just don't think we have the available space for it. But we're entertaining any and all amenities, and we would love to get input from the community on what they would like to see.
I would say that it would be in your best interest to have a list of amenities ready to go at your council hearing.
Yes.
And to show those on the site plan.
Sure, I'll get our civil guy to go back and just put those in there so they're visual.
The last question from Harvey Davis: do apartment doors open to the outside or a hall?
So the front door,
No.
these are interior
No.
access apartments, correct?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely, 100%.
All right,
Okay.
I have another question from Debbie Davis. On this project, who is the developer and where is a development in the city like this that we can see?
Sure. The Belly J. Searles Foundation and 5 Points Development are the developers. If I will email a website, and you actually the closest project to Sandtown is actually in, I would say, Mableton. It's called Wisteria Gardens of Mableton. I will send that out, Dana.
Okay.
And guys, and if they want to go by and take a tour, they're more than welcome. It's 100% leased up with a waiting list of 2,000 people. So that goes to show you what the demand is. So I'll get that over to you so everyone has an opportunity to see the actual product that we did.
Have you done any outreach to Councilmember Rowell yet?
Oh God, not weekly, but maybe bi-weekly.
Okay, as long as she is aware of this and
100%, sir.
fantastic. Yes. Thank you for that.
So I do have another statement, but I just wanted to say real quick that we will hold on to these emails, and we'll be able to answer some of these questions, responding to these emails that are in the planning email address. So we have another comment. We are on CV 2101, Nathan?
Correct.
Okay, so Gloria Williams says we need to investigate CV 21001. The developer wants to increase the height to make more profit at the possible expense of what is more beneficial for the residents. Reducing the number of trees is not a positive improvement of the plan. The amenities being proposed are very minimal.
Yeah, so we will make sure we have a comprehensive list and that the council is amenable to their proposal. I would also encourage the petitioner to submit if they have any landscape plans or drawings showcasing that would be very helpful.
Sure, I would like to address the profit question. We're honestly only going 4 stories because it does not work at 3. It will never be able to get the density needed to even finance the project. So it's not about getting the profit. The deal just doesn't pencil out at 3 stories. That's the issue.
Thank you much. Any other questions, Dana?
No, sir.
All right. Again, any other questions that come in, we will get back to you as soon as we see the questions. Otherwise, thank you very much, and we can move on to the next case.
Thank you.
Nathan, can you just point out again that we're just using the planning email address and we are not responding to chats?
Absolutely. Any comments in the YouTube chat are going to stay in the YouTube chat. Please email any comments to planning, PLANNING, at cityofsouthfultonga. Don't forget the GA.gov. Planning at cityofsouthfultonga.gov. Next case is M21004, another modification request at 0 Campbellton Road. Go to the next slide, please. Here the petitioner is asking to replace a condition for a grocery store to allow for the construction of apartment complex and retail buildings. The property is zone mixed, and just like the previous case, this will be heard at the April 13th council meeting. So over a month from now. And again, all comments to council need to be submitted to the city clerk's website. Go to the next slide, please. This site should be pretty familiar to a lot of people. It is next to the new Publix on Campbellton Road, and it is in this, again, in the center of the screen, the undeveloped green area, and it'll make a little bit more sense because there is a lot showing on the screen. When we get to the next slide, please. You can see the parcel outlined in light blue. I know the map on the left has a big chunk outline. That's just how the GIS layer captures that area. That's a future land use map. On the right is the parcel. It is zone mixed use. it is right next to a very recent case that we had for a warehouse that came in the industrial area. And I'm sure some of you remember that case. I'm sure the staff does as well, that just came in a few months ago for a warehouse back there in the industrial area. We can go to the next slide, please. So here you can see, so the public shopping center is going to be right to the right of this project. It's right on the corner. There's a daycare on the triangular parcel in the corner. And you will see on this parcel here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Get that right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 apartment buildings, amenity area in the center of the screen, parking surrounding it. On the right is an out parcel for a few retail buildings, and the parcels in the front on Campbellton Road will all have retail as well. And I know that we get a lot of questions about and a lot of expressions of desire for more retail. And so this site will have several options for new retail buildings. We can go to the next slide, please. And I think that will add a lot of clarity. So we'll have here again, the red are the proposed apartment buildings. You will see we have frontage on the road interior to the project, and 2, 4, 6, 7 out parcel retail buildings facing Campbellton Road. And the font is too small for me to read the side street, but again, that is all next to the Publix on Campbellton. I'm sure some questions or comments have come in or will come in for this, but is anyone representing this project on the presentation tonight?
Yes. Hi, Nathan. This is Adam Parker with Carter.
Hello, hello. Please, the floor is yours. Any comments or details I have omitted, please fill us in.
Yeah, it actually would be great if I could be allowed to share my screen. I was going to share a couple of inspirational images as well as renderings of what the ultimate project we hope will look like.
Sure, Marissa, can you do that? And if this is a new presentation that I haven't seen, feel free to email or please email that into the staff so we can have those for us. And I know the council member has been briefed on this project as well.
Right, correct. So again, good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Parker. I work for Carter. We are a developer based here in Atlanta. We're a 63-year-old company. We're headquartered here. We've done projects all over the country. A project you may have heard of here in town that we're working on is the old Turner Field redevelopment, where we're going in and developing the parking lots in a partnership with Georgia State University. As Nathan earlier mentioned, we're seeking a zoning modification. As he also mentioned, it is a mixed use district right now, and we are asking for it to receive a variance to allow for a horizontal mixed use project. This site was originally designated to be a grocery store. And also, as Nathan mentioned, there's now a grocery store right across the street. So the mixed use district zoning allows for commercial and multifamily, but this specific parcel that we're discussing tonight is slotted to be a grocery store. And we're asking to receive a modification to then allow for it to have multifamily as well as commercial. To give you an idea of the site, Nathan just showed this, but in our conversations with the council member, as well as representatives from the neighborhood, as well as the planning staff, as well as economic development, we've repeatedly heard a desire for there to be a commercial aspect, both along Riverside as well as Campbellton Road. Another thing that we've heard a desire for is for it to be a mixed use development. One thing that you'll see in here that Nathan didn't touch on is the construction of a new road. Now, this new road would be built to all the specifications of the Sandtown overlay. That includes sidewalks on both sides. That includes landscaping. That includes lights. We really envision this to be a walkable mixed use community. Within here, as also Nathan mentioned, you have the multifamily buildings, which are set behind the road. So as you drive by Campbellton Road or drive by Riverside, what you'll be looking at will be commercial parcels as opposed to looking at apartments. So as opposed to looking at what it looks like from overhead, we'll show you what it will look like as you drive by. What we've included here is some inspirational imagery of what the commercial out parcels would look like. These have been pulled from the Sandtown overlay requirements as to what could ultimately be built here. We envision this being everything from restaurants to office space. Some things in here are actually developments that my company has done in the past. There are the types of users that we believe would ultimately be drawn here. And actually, we have been coordinating with South Fulton Economic Development on potential users for these parcels. I don't believe I'm at liberty to say who these users are due to confidentiality agreements, but I would defer to economic development within the city to speak to those. Moving in off of the road, this is what a proposed clubhouse would look like. This would have everything from a community gathering area as well as a fitness room. It's also worth mentioning, as you look at this site plan, well, yes, everything that is in a dotted line is the site that we're discussing today. All of the multifamily would be fenced in. This would be separated from the commercial uses. It would be a gated high-end community. Moving on, here's the clubhouse I just referred to. This is an inspirational imagery rendering of what our multifamily would look like. As you can see, this is a 3-story craftsman style product. Again, this has been designed to be within the Sandtown overlay specifications. You can see cupolas, you can see overhangs, you can see large windows. And this is what we are proposing the multifamily buildings would look like. And lastly, before I turn it back to Nathan, what you have in front of you is inspirational imagery. This is what the amenities would look like. This is what the interior of units would look like. And these are actually all pulled from projects that my company Carter has developed both in Atlanta and around the company. With that, I'll stop sharing my screen and I will pass it back to Nathan.
Thank you very much for that. Dana, any questions or comments that have come in the planning email address?
We have comments for M21003. He was questioning if they're elevators. Harvey Davis was questioning if they're elevators.
So there would certainly be elevators in that building, yes. Any for M21004?
Oh, sorry, no.
No?
No.
Okay, I'm sure there will be. Again, any questions or comments, email in, and even if we get them after the conclusion of this meeting, we'll get back to you. Let's stay on the line and go to the next slides really quick because it is relevant to this case. CV 21002, a concurrent variance at the same site. We can go to the next slide, please. This is a concurrent variance of the previous case, as I said, asking for a variance on parking from 543 required down to 485. Again, this will be heard at the April 13th council meeting, so a little over a month from now. Any comments from the petitioner on this request?
Yes, again, this is Adam Parker. Thank you, Nathan. In terms of the request for a variance on the parking requirement, the reason we are going to request a decrease in the number of required parking spaces has to do with the commercial that we have added to our site plan, as well as the updated road that we have added in. Originally, within our original plan, we were well within the required parking spaces. So what we have done with our updated site plan is we've lost buildable area in terms of our commercial parcels as well as new road. Based off of the feedback that we heard from elected officials, members of the neighborhood, as well as planning, that we've prioritized making this more of a walkable, connected, horizontal mixed-use development, as opposed to fitting in all of the required spaces. So yes, as Nathan's mentioning, we are requesting that the multifamily portion of this has a variance bringing down the required spaces from 543 to 485. And the reason we arrived at 485 is we found that number to be best practice in terms of the number of parking spaces affiliated with garden style multifamily across the Southeast. And the way that we actually arrived at that number is it would be one parking space for each bedroom that we would have on site. So a one bedroom would have one parking space associated with it, a 2-bedroom would have 2, and so on and so forth.
Thank you very much for that. Can we go back to the site plan very quickly, Marissa? Yeah, this one right here. And I will just make note that this site plan has gone through many revisions to get to the proposal that is on the screen right now and being presented to the council and the community. So this is not the first stab, and a lot of conversation has gone into getting this site plan where it is today. Dana, has any questions or comments come in regarding this case?
No.
All right, thank you so much. Any last comments or questions on any of the other cases that have come in that we have missed tonight? And Adam, you are good.
Yes, we had Z21002 from Gloria Williams, vote no. Instead of a warehouse, we need professional office buildings, medical facilities, healthier non-fast food restaurants. This property backs up to older neighborhoods and residents do not want a warehouse on this property.
All right, thank you, Ms. Williams. Any other questions or comments?
Again, it was Harvey Davis with M21003 about the elevators. And
Answer that one.
let's see. Oh, I just had one pop up. Sandtown, this is from Debbie Davis. Sandtown Community Association has been meeting with Carter on this project. We asked that the commercial pieces be developed in conjunction with the residential, and we've asked them to add brick and mortar, even though they have met the overlay, so that it will complement the commercial area. Thanks.
And we can always make a point to include that as a condition, and I'm sure that the council member is aware of that as well.
Okay, this one is in regards to CV 21-002. Gloria Williams, is it possible to include a second food store like Sprouts or Aldi's? When will the residents be informed about the potential retail businesses included in this development?
I don't know if Adam is still on the call, but I know that the retail is obviously subject to more market forces than bringing on the all the apartment buildings online, and I know that they are going to be building those individual out parcels to suit tenants once they are lined up. But if the community has any specific tenants they would like to see, or whether it be a specific brand or a specific type, do please let us know, and we can forward that information along. As was mentioned, this is directly across the street from any current supermarket, and I am not, intimately familiar with the specific market requirements for each individual supermarket chain. Although it certainly is there is precedent rather to have different types of markets in close proximity to one another. So if there is a specific type of market or a specific brand of any type of development that you would like to see, do please let us know that. And, we can certainly have a conversation with developers on bringing a certain retailer to the community, and, seeing what options might be available and what the market might support.
Okay, we have another one.
And I would just echo that. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I was just going to say.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I would echo that. We would be more than happy to receive any feedback or recommendations that residents would have. As I mentioned earlier, we've already been speaking with economic development in terms of how we can recruit the best possible tenants to come to this location that both the city wants there and the neighbors would want there as well. So I echo everything that that Nathan just said, and we are very open to recommendations, and we want your input, because we very much view this commercial development as being very accretive to our project, and we want to build something that both we as the developer as well as the neighborhood would be proud of.
Thank you for that.
Great. I have another question from Gloria Williams, and this is for CV 21-001. Why did the developer present a 3-story project if he knew that it would not, in quotes, pencil out?
They have presented 4 stories from the very beginning on that one.
And that is it.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank everybody for listening to us tonight. Any questions or comments, please email to the planning email address. As I said, these will be heard, one case at the Planning Commission meeting next week, one case at the Planning Commission meeting next month, and 2 cases with concurrent variances at the council hearing next month. So a little bit of advance notice on all these, but that can't be a bad thing. Thank you all so much, and have a wonderful night. Really appreciate it.
Okay.